So I'm Elks, and this is Stevie Brewin. We've just come together in the Nacra 17, and it's still early days. So it's all part of the learning process at the moment. Each day is a big learning curve for us, and we're just about to head into the ICAT World Championships here in Aarhus. And our goal here is it's all process based. So putting in place the basics each day, and each day as it comes, a new challenge and seeing what we can make of it.
So I'm Steve Brewin from Australia, Sydney, and Caitlin's from Perth, of course, the other side of the country, and we've teamed up, and this is our first big event that we're going into, the ICAT Worlds. We started with a training event in Gdynia, and we've done a couple of weeks training before we left home, and we're looking forward to trying to step up each day and improve. The main thing for us to see is improvement in our ability, in our teamwork, and getting our communication skills right. It's the big thing here for us is the difference that we're learning between the communication skills is that Caitlin's come through a really good process since sort of year 2000. The Australian sailing's been very good with teaching the process of just the basic things of the communication skills. And I was sort of in, my last little bit of Olympic sailing was in '98, and it wasn't as well processed as that. So, I've got to bring myself up and step up to where Caitlin is in those skills, and Caitlin's helping me with that.
I think we all learn a bit of a shared language, and so we've all learned to develop the same kind of language in the way that we talk about sailing and the terms that we use and things like that. And so that growing up through that in the last few years in the 49er FX, that's worked really well for me and the sailors around me, and so helping Stevie sort of step into that a little bit and understand that communication that we're all using.
So I've been through the ICAT since the start of the development, so I've seen 22 Z-foils develop in that time, and this Z-foil is very close to what we call a Z5, and it was probably developed this was locked in as a one design class back to probably 2.5 years ago, maybe in 3. And so I've found a lot of similarities in the way the boat performs from that era, so that's been very helpful in that respect. So just where you stand, on this boat we're standing forward, running forward, when on a traditional boat you're running back. So knowing how to do all that, the last sort of 3-4 years of doing that is a big natural instinct, like swinging a golf club, and it's got to, you can't think, you don't have time to think. When the reaction time comes, if you think, it's too late, it's gone. So getting all that, knowing that natural instinct's been helpful. Caitlin's picking it up really fast. For Caitlin, it's all unnatural to run forward when she should be normally running backwards in a 49er, and trimming out when you'd be trimming in. So, that's been a big benefit, I guess, that I've helped with us in having that pre-foiling experience.
I think there's two different styles. So you have your displacement mode and your foiling mode, and so when you're sailing displacement mode, it's like any other boat. You're controlling the boat over the pitch of the waves and things like that, and so everything's quite natural. And it's as soon as it starts to rise out of the water and starts to fly, that it's in reverse. So then it becomes less controlling it over the waves and things like that, and it becomes more controlling your ride height. So what you're trying to do is basically replicate what the wand does on the wasp, or on the moth, where it's feeling the wave pattern, and it's sort of changing to the waves, and it's changing the boards and the height and everything, so it's controlling your ride height. And so I'm trying to do the same thing by running forward and backwards and trying to balance the boat and trying to control that ride height so it stays quite even, and you're as far out of the water as you want the boat to be.
Once you're at speed, you can't really move the foils. You can do it a bit, but it's not efficient. While you're doing that, you lean in and, you're not trimming your sails. So, yeah, basically it's the crews. You know, the skipper can help a bit, but the crew's got most of the control of the ride height of the boat.
Dancing back and forward.
Basically, if you step backwards, then it'll just put lift in, and everything, the boat will just rise up, and that's great until it pops out and ventilates. So, you know, the higher you can ride it, the faster it goes, but they ventilate very easily, these foils. You know, if you've got, say, our angle's, you know, probably 700, 800 mil, if you can reduce that to 400, 500, it'll increase by a couple of knots in boat speed.
I think when the boat's balanced, it feels balanced. And so if you look at the boat from, you know, on the coach boat or from another boat, it looks bow down, but when you're actually sailing it, it feels quite balanced and it feels really natural. So I trim the main when we're both on the wire and in the water. The boat's in displacement mode, but as soon as we want to start foiling, or if we're starting to get our body weight into the boat, then that's when Steve will be trimming the main. I think we're quite lucky in the Nacra. There's a bit of freedom in what blocks you can put on, how many and things like that, and so the only restriction there is the size of the block that you add to the boat, and so we can really change our setup and add things and take things away and have it exactly the way we want it. We've got a lot of freedom in that, and so that's been really good on using the products that we really want on the boat.
So yeah, we've been lucky with having Harken on board, you know, being able to get access to the GP system very early before you know, as it was getting released, one of the first people to get it, and that's been amazing. You know, I don't know if I'd be able to trim the main as a skipper as well as what I can without that system. I think, you know, on the foils, at the moment it's really good for if you're foiling upwind for myself to trim, and so that's been really good.